Welcome to Life on Earth. It's Thursday. You know what that means. It's time for Robert Nasir, Amy Nasir, to talk about life on Earth. We want to talk to you. Join us in the chat. Good to see folks are already on board. Action Jackson is in the house. Mary Aline has already started the super chat. In for $2. We send those hearts right back to you. Today, we're going to talk about hope. What do you mean hope? This is an Ayn Rand group. What are we talking about hope for? We're going to tell you why. If you don't already know the answer, you will by the time we are done. The show's called Life on Earth because we're talking about life on Earth. Well, that seems obvious. Everything is about life on Earth. But if, as objectivists, if we really do have the operating manual for life, if, as Ayn Rand said, her philosophy is a philosophy for living on Earth, it stands to reason. Objectivists should be among the happiest, the most successful, most optimistic, and looking forward, the most hopeful people on Earth.
Yes, I agree.
I am prepared to make that case. And it's quick. It's easy. You will enjoy the discussion because it won't take that long. If you disagree, if you agree. Oh, Jennifer. Jennifer is in the chat being cute. We'll repeat that later. If she'd put money on it, we would have to say it out loud. But we'll hold off for a minute. If you think the subject of hope isn't for you, then you need hope and change. I mean, you need a conceptual understanding of the concept of hope, and we are just the ones to provide it. So do not be hopeless. Join our tea party. Oh, here we go.
Oh, you got tea, huh? I have Diet Pepsi.
I actually don't have tea. It's coffee. So I guess I wasn't a good tea party. I was a coffee party patriot. Well, except that I would not have dumped the coffee in the Boston Harbor. So maybe that does make me a good tea party patriot. Hope. I hope you're looking forward to hope. As always, definitions are crucial. So we need to ask the question, well, what are we talking about?
Yeah,
what is hope? So I'm going to start there, but that will just be the start. So I go to Rod Stewart, and who says, still, I look to find a reason to believe. Okay, I found so many hope references in pop music, and I'm tempted to make those my definitions, but no, I'm going to go to the Oxford Dictionary. Hope. Now, for those of you who are thinking, man, this is really woo, listen to this. Hope, a feeling of expectation and a desire for a particular thing to happen. Well, we talked about that when we talked about values. You have values. You have things that you have or want to have, things you want to obtain or achieve. Sounds kind of like this, a feeling of expectation and desire for a particular thing to happen. Okay.
Like Christmas?
Like, well, do you hope for Christmas?
Well,
I guess Christmas makes you hopeful.
I hope for presents from Santa.
I hope to see Santa. I hope to sit on Santa's lap. Well, not literally, but tell Santa what's on my mind.
True.
Now, this is interesting in the Oxford definitions. Expectation of and desire for, okay. Under archaic definitions, now listen to this because this is going to come up. Archaic, a feeling of trust. Hope, a feeling of trust. Okay, so jump over to Merriam-Webster real quick. To cherish a desire with anticipation, to want something to happen or to be true. And then we have examples. Hopes for a promotion. I am hoping for the best. I hope so. I hope you have a good day. Okay, those definitions, yeah, that only gets you so far. I'm going to jump over to Wikipedia because this was actually good. Hope is an optimistic state of mind that is based on an expectation of positive outcomes with respects to events and circumstances in one's life or the world at large. As a verb, its definitions include expect with confidence and to cherish a desire with anticipation. It is an anticipatory emotion. Among its opposites are dejection, hopelessness, and despair. Okay, so why, when I posted about hope this week, so I want to talk about hope, did I get the reaction from certain people? Oh, Lord. Did I get the reaction from certain people that, oh, that's a very woo concept? I got some downright insults, which fortunately the poster removed afterward. You know who you are. But people have a reason to be suspicious of this. We went through the hope and change era with 2 presidents previous. And frankly, I haven't been much more hopeful about politics since then. But I have to stop and say, just 5 minutes in here, thank you to our super chatters. Thank you, Mary Aline. Thank you, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah.
And just as with the Yarn Brooks show, if you super chat, we're going to answer your question or repeat your statement, whatever it is you posted. So this gal here, Jennifer, what did she write? I have to scroll back up. It says, life on, oh, we were talking about life on Earth, right? And she says, I think about life on Uranus. Look, there was money in it. The money's there. We got to say it. There may be limits to that, but Lord knows I haven't found them yet. Mary Aline says, what are we changing? Well,
hope and change.
Hope and change. Well, I don't know. What did Mr. Hope and Change, Barack Obama, say he was going to change? He changed the medical system substantially for the worse.
Yeah.
He changed some of our technology, including locking down some of the pipelines for the worst. I don't know that he did anything good, but he actually didn't do as many bad things as I was expecting. You may remember the change we were supposed to get was the IRS was going to become an arm of the military. Remember, they had the billion rounds of ammunition. None of us could get bullets at the time.
Yeah, with FEMA and the boxcars.
The boxcars. FEMA was going to load us into boxcars and take us down to Arizona, those of us who didn't agree, those of us who got reported through flag.gov.
And that happened.
And the Attack Watch program. I don't know. I guess we just weren't rebellious enough to be part of the boxcars. And yes. So thank you, Jennifer, for that charming distraction. And you are irresistible.
Every time I think of Obama, I think of Rucka's I'm Obama song from the thrift shop song, which always cracks me up.
If you haven't fully digested what happened politically during the Obama years, all you need to do is listen to Rucka Rucka Ali.
He has 3 parodies
I'm
for Obama.
Yeah, there are several. Amy could tell you better than I could.
Yeah.
Exactly which are which and what are what and all of that good stuff.
Well, Obama he ate chicken sandwiches, but they were only $1, so Michelle didn't have to be angry with him.
Somehow I'm getting phone calls on a device that shouldn't be receiving phone calls. Sorry for that, folks. Not very professional there, but we will make up for it. So faith. Suspicious synonyms. See, here's the thing. Here's why I get it when objectivists say to me, Robert, you shouldn't be talking about hope. You shouldn't be talking about trust. You shouldn't be talking about these woo concepts, and you shouldn't be talking about anything Ayn Rand never talked about. Because there are suspicious uses, suspicious synonyms for hope. Like hope is expectation, and specifically not expecting bad things, but expecting good things. But to some people, that kind of expectation means entitlement.
Yeah. Actually, I have that in my notes, as a matter of fact.
Yep. Hope is synonymous with belief. But when we think belief versus knowledge, that sounds like faith.
Yeah, it sounds like we've got to break some things down philosophically.
Think about hope as a form of trust. Well, that also sounds like faith. Or confidence, which can sound like blind faith. We talked about optimism. Hope and optimism are inextricably linked, but optimism sounds like Pollyannaism and pipe dreams. Think about hope as a form of courage, but that sounds like false bravado. You don't have reasons for your hope. Hope and pride, which sounds like braggadocio. Hope and ambition. I hope to get this job and I'm working hard for it. And yet, the opposite of that, what people think hope is the opposite of ambition, and so they assume it means apathy. Well, I sure hope this job comes, even though I'm not doing anything about it. The old joke about the man prays to God, let me win the lottery. I'm down on my luck. I'm on my last leg. And he lets 6 months go by. He doesn't win the lottery. He prays again, Lord, I really need this. I'm almost starving. Please help me win the lottery. 6 more months go by and he's I'm dying here. I'm starving to death. Please, Lord, let me win the lottery. And suddenly the booming voice comes from heaven. The clouds part, the light shines down, and the voice says, work with me, at least buy a ticket. So yes, that
Bum, bum.
the opposite of ambition, this idea, I hope I get a job, or I'm indifferent to ambition, or I'm depressed because I'm not ambitious. But the actual antonyms of hope, the actual opposites of hope, if hope is a rational expectation of a positive outcome,
Mhm.
the actual opposites of hope are hopelessness, pessimism, determinism, cynicism,
Yeah.
distrust,
Right.
irrationality. Now, why is the opposite of hope irrationality? Well, as Bonnie says in the chat, hope is confidence in the benevolent universe
Aw.
premise.
Ooh,
And she's absolutely right. Hope is the acknowledgement that good things are not only possible, but if you do the right things, and other things being equal, because there are exceptions, but other things being equal, not only can you do the right things, but you will get the right outcomes. You will get the value result. You know, cynics.
Mhm.
Not that anybody who listens to this show or watches this show would be a cynic, but
Uh,
cynics will often say, especially when we talk about politics,
Yeah.
what is Joe Biden really doing? What was Bernie Sanders really doing? What was Hillary Clinton really doing? What was Donald Trump really doing? What was really going on behind the scenes? What's going on in the swamp? They will say, follow the money.
Right.
Well, that can be a very cynical phrase, but I like it. Follow the money. So what do we know about money? What we know is that hope, optimism,
Mhm.
is the winning strategy when it comes to money. The hell does that mean? Well, Yaron Brook recently acknowledged, he was talking about the stock market. He's talking about the crazy numbers we've got right now. And yet he acknowledged optimism is the winning strategy in the stock market. You can be one of these guys who predicts the market to fail every 7 years, every 12 years, every 20 years. The coming disaster that Peter Schiff has said is going to come every year for the last 12 years. 13 years now, since 2007, 2008. But successful investors know this immutable fact. It's been true since 1931. In the market, optimism is the success strategy. Follow the money indeed. Optimism is the winning strategy in every domain for exactly the reason that Bonnie reminds us. If you do the right things, you will get the right result. People will say, and they'll be right, there are exceptions. Sometimes you do the right thing and vicious people take advantage of it. Sometimes you do the right thing and the government slaps you down. Sometimes you do the right thing and just random chance keeps you from getting what you wanted. All of that is true, 100%. Except it doesn't happen 100% of the time. It doesn't happen 50% of the time. It doesn't happen anywhere near the majority of the time. Success is possible, and more, success occurs every day, all over the world. Go to your local coffee shop. And right now is a good time to do that because it might be closed because people are having a hard time finding employees. Go to your local restaurant, go to your department store, go to your JCPenney, Target, Lord & Taylor, whatever is still open out there because some businesses have failed and new ones have come up. 90%, 99% of the time, all you will see is success. You will see people doing their jobs, making things happen. You know, the recent failure of one part of the global supply chain, the recent failure, the bottleneck of supply ships in Southern California, and not just the port at San Francisco and the port at Los Angeles. Some ships are waiting so long to undock, these enormous container ships, that they're looking at rerouting them to Florida, which obviously means going through the Panama Canal. That's a hell of a trip. But the recent failure of one part of the global supply chain This bottleneck of supply ships in Southern California is a reminder of two things. One, things can go wrong. And two, it's a reminder that prior to last month, they rarely go wrong. They rarely went wrong. This brings to mind the Evergreen Company's container ship, Ever Given. Do you remember Ever Given from last March? This big container ship that got stuck in a sandbar and ended up going askew, sideways in the Suez Canal. And for a month, we would see in the news, updates. Are they finally going to get Ever Given out of the way so boats can start coming from the Indian Ocean to the Mediterranean? They finally straightened all that out. How often does that happen? In my lifetime, I can think it happened once. Mm-hmm. And it's very easy to think, well, that was a sign of things to come. Obviously, Evergreen isn't taking care of their ships. The Ever Given got caught because it's systemic of the bad things that are coming. And yet, since March, that hasn't happened again. Now we have a container ship crisis in Southern California. It may turn out that this is indicative of some deep problem and you're going to see significant issues because of it. Mm. How many other industries are carrying on and doing just fine? It's not that disasters don't matter, that there isn't reason to think, oh, there will be problems in the future. And it's not that there aren't reasons to fight the political and the ideological reasons behind those failures. But it's also not a reason to look at the future with anything less than hope, with anything less than optimism. Good news isn't news.
Right.
When that barista at the coffee shop down the street from you goes to work, shows up, does her job, serves you a cup of coffee, and the 10,000 other people and businesses and people doing their jobs do the exact same thing everywhere surrounding you, that ain't news. So you don't realize how much good news there is, how normal success is, how much reason there is to believe that things will continue to improve, as nearly every measure has right up until 2019, and most or even or several or most of them through the pandemic as well. We saw that one dip in life expectancy around, 2017, 2018, and they pinned it down to what are called deaths of despair, not deaths of despair, but deaths of despair, which obviously are related. Other than that, every other measure has improved. And it's not just, oh yeah, we got lucky or we somehow worked our way around or the few atlases of the world held everything up, which incidentally is also true. But every measure has improved, and there is every reason to assume it's going to continue to improve. So before I kind of add all of that up and put a pretty bow on it, let me take a quick look back in the chat. We've had a couple more super chats here. Although it looks like my co-host is trying to interrupt me because she's posting super chats. Good Lord.
Just one.
Yes. She says,
I thought it'd be fun.
She says in the super chat, like she couldn't just turn her head and say, excuse me, could you shut up for a moment?
I'll do that next time.
Okay. Yeah, well, it'll cost us less money. But what about the politicians being motivated by money?
Yeah, because earlier you said, politicians, what they do, you said like follow the money with regard to politicians. A lot of people say, well, politicians are they're just there for the money, for the power, for the prestige, or however. And you follow the money and you see that, Bernie Sanders has, a dozen vacation homes and all this stuff.
Amy's setting me up here because she knows I want to knock this one out of the park.
And so what do you think about that? That, could that possibly be even a smaller motivation of theirs?
I have a 2-word answer. Whole answer in 2 words. And normally those 2 words would be, I wish. I wish it was all just corruption. I wish it was all just dirty money. I wish none of these people actually believed anything they say. But instead, my 2 words will be, I hope. I hope you're right. I hope it is all just corruption. I hope it is all just backroom deals, because these people are far less dangerous if they don't believe the things they say. The problem is all of that's true. All the corruption is there. All the cronyism is there. None of it would be possible without what? Without the ideology, without the things they say, without what they claim and really do believe. These people are altruists.
Right.
Not in the everyday, ordinary sense of nice guys who want to give stuff to people. We know it runs deeper and far uglier than that.
But
without the ideas, they couldn't get away with any of the other stuff.
But
now
Marilyn has a point. She says,
yes.
She says, politicians are like Lillian Reardon. They can't imagine that they would ever have to think about money. And I think that's a really good point.
It is.
Because what they believe, in terms of altruism and socialism and a lot of these moral and political beliefs that are not actually based or grounded in reality, that gives rise to their own feelings of, I could never be a Jeff Bezos. I could never be, an Elon Musk. Therefore, I still want the prestige. I still want the power. I still want the parades and the glories and the buildings named after me and all of it. And I'm going to get it. And so it is a sort of there's some other, obviously, Atlas Shrugged characters who are probably a little bit more commensurate to this idea. But yeah, people like Lillian Reardon and Philip Reardon, they don't want to work. They don't actually want to have to do the effort, make the effort to earn that prestige.
Well, you're right. They want power as much as or more than they want money. In fact, I don't even think they want money in the sense that it's beneath them to think about money. You get young politicians who actually talk about money and talk about budgets, and even the redistributionists who say, I want to redistribute all the money, but they at least care about the numbers. At some point, they even lose that.
Yeah.
I think if enough people give Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez $30,000 dresses for her to paint red letters on the back of, she will never, ever be able to think rationally about a budget, about money, about what it takes to actually support a household or a family.
Yeah, but I think the your approach to it is absolutely right. It's the ideas that they hold that keep them motivated to do what they're doing. It is not primarily the power and the money.
And even to the ones where it is all power and money, again, they could never do it. They could never get away with it if it wasn't for the ideas.
Yes.
The promises that they're making and the actual actions that they're taking are 100% based on what they believe and what they believe their constituents believe. And why do people believe that stuff? Because of the ideas, because of philosophy. If nobody believed in altruism, or if nobody believed in collectivism, if people understood that the unit both of value and of cognition is the individual thinking mind, it wouldn't matter what anybody promised or offered to them. If people knew that much, they would know, oh yeah, then it's not going to work. Then collectivism doesn't work, then socialism doesn't work, then redistribution doesn't help people. Then none of what we're being promised is anything we should want. It always comes back to the ideas, even for the people who don't believe the ideas. That's why we have a term like pragmatism for people who claim, and in substantial ways are, anti-ideological. People who tell you, I don't believe in ideas. I don't function on the basis of ideas. Why do we call them pragmatists? Why do you even put a label on that? And it turns out that the answer is, well, nobody lives by zero principles. They live by cynical principles. And we need to know that going in, because when they claim anything that is a principle, like, well, you can trust me, I'm honest, then you're, oh, okay, I can't trust you. Even if you think you're an honest person, I know in practice you will betray anything because you don't believe in anything. The ideas are underneath it all, even for people who don't think that they believe in ideas, even for the most cynical card sharp in the world. We talked on our last Sunday show about Al Capone and why, even if you don't believe in morality, Morality still plays out in your life. So yes, you're right. Some politicians do care more about power than money. In fact, I think anybody who's been in Washington, D.C. for more than, say, 2 terms, 8 years, depending on what position they hold, but anybody who's been around for a while, yeah, they no longer care about money. They've solved that problem. That's in the rearview mirror. Now the question is, how do they remain in power? How do they keep playing that game? And the vast majority of them are not 100% cynical. They do still believe the ideas. They look in the mirror every day and they've got to believe in some way that they really are doing good.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That would be my best short answer to that. But for the rest of us, for that gal in the coffee shop, for that guy running the cash register at your local Target,
Yep.
for the people that you work with in your office or in your factory or at your grocery store, for all of the people who surround you and still do the work that keeps the wheels of the world turning, they are the good news. And so you don't realize how much good news there is, how normal success is, and how much reason there is to believe that things will continue to improve. Just how much grounding, how much reality basis there is for expectation of success, for hope.
For hope.
And one thing that I hope is that the Ayn Rand Center UK has you as a member. So we got to take just a moment, real quick. If you're not a member at the Ayn Rand Center UK, sign up. Go to Ayn Rand Center. It's Center C with RE at the end, aynrandcenter.co.uk. Link will be posted in the chat in a moment. Sign up. It's £10 a month. Be part of the things, not only this show, which you get for free, other than Mary Aline and Jennifer and people who have generously contributed through the super chat. Thank you. Keep it up.
Yeah, thank you guys. My goodness.
But you'll also get access to the behind the scenes stuff, the communication boot camp with the author Don Watkins, both co-author with Yaron Brook of several books, but now becoming both an author of fiction and nonfiction. And the Saturday morning shows. Those are so cool with James Valiant, where he is analyzing Leonard Peikoff's more heavy duty stuff, understanding objectivism through induction.
He does it so well. I love James Valiant.
He should have been.
He does it so well.
People have said, there's not going to be an intellectual era of Ayn Rand after Leonard Peikoff, because she ain't around to designate anyone. And Leonard's not going to designate anyone. And that is as it should be. But if it had to happen, if somebody somehow got that bee in their bonnet to say there's got to be another intellectual era, I don't know, James Valiant, he's not as rigorous as Harry Binswanger or Onkar Ghate, but he's so grounded. He's so when you talk to him, you can hear the dirt under his fingernails. When he applies these ideas, he's applying them to real life. It's so cool. Right. Anyway, if you're part of the Ayn Rand Center UK, you probably already are. But if you're not yet a member, you can be. You can get in on that stuff. I'm going to stop right there. I'll make one more plug at the end of the show. But first, I have to say,
well, before we go on, actually, I want to talk about. We have a show called 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir and Amy Nasir on Sundays at 6 p.m. Eastern time every Sunday.
Yes, well,
and we have a little bit more fun.
I will get there.
Okay,
it's in the notes.
Oh, good.
Yes, sorry, I should have reviewed that with you ahead of time. But yes, we have to talk about that too. Again, reality gives you grounds for hope, not just here and there and at random, but. Sorry, my screen froze up for a second there. But everywhere you are surrounded by this stuff, by evidence, reality-based evidence that so many things go right. It's why the things that go wrong stand out. If you go, I'm going to post this in my show notes on my Facebook wall. I'll make links in my Twitter feed. All you need to do is add to your news diet. If you get your news from wherever you get your news from, whether you get it from Fox News or Google News or CNN or MSNBC or wherever you take in your information, on Twitter, on Facebook from your friends, add to your diet a couple of alternative sources like humanprogress.org. It will change your view of the world. Go to Our World in Data, ourworldindata.org. And you will see the actual numbers. Oh, okay, that stuff that Steven Pinker and Michael Shermer and Matt Ridley talk about, where everything's getting better all the time. Yeah, I guess it actually is. I'm worried about politics. I am worried as hell about Joe Biden. But oh my, yeah, actually everything is getting better all the time, and not a little bit, in ways that are mind-bogglingly awesome. Go to the Progress Network, theprogressnetwork.org. Again, I'll put all these in my Facebook post. Just a few of these. Yeah, Mary Eileen says, I get my current events from ARC UK. Yes, a great news source. Follow the channel, listen to the shows. It really is good. Although, you know, we kind of have to keep an eye on that bad news a little more than the good news. I think we do that. And I greatly respect and admire my co-hosts for making that happen. We do have to be aware. But yeah, go to mattridley.co.uk, go to stephenpinker.com, michaelshermer.com. I'll have a link in the notes to an Ayn Rand Institute post, Why the Future is Bright by Yaron Brook. Posted in 2016, so I think his optimism has waned a little bit. But all you need to do is listen to his Yaron's Rules for Life shows to realize I don't think he's as pessimistic as he himself explicitly thinks he is. He has great hope. It's pretty clear to me. All you need to do is follow a few of these. You know, do all of this. One or two would do. And you will realize most people, most of the 8 billion people on this planet are not trying to destroy the world. They're not trying to ruin your life. They're not anti-value. They're trying to earn a living. Or in the words of the philosopher Brian May of Queen, they're taking care of those they call their own. They're simply trying to live their lives.
And Mary Eileen says that Barry Weiss is a good source.
Barry Weiss is an outstanding source.
Yes.
And I don't have her in my notes, but you know, Google her. You may already be on her Substack anyway. Mm-hmm. Most people are just doing what they're doing. They're just trying to live. Who gets this? Who understands this? Who gets the fact that most people are just trying to live their lives? And that 99% of what's going on out there is good stuff that supports your values. You know who gets it? The people at Adweek get it.
Mm. Well, considering that I work in marketing, I also get it.
The people at Inc. Magazine, they get it. Mm-hmm. The people at Indeed get it.
Right.
The people at Money Magazine, they get it. The people at Fortune get it. The people at Kiplinger's Personal Finance get it. The people at Fast Company get it. The people at the MIT Technology Review get it. The people at Inventors Digest get it. The people at Industry Week get it. The people at Communication Arcs, I could go on. I could name you 100, maybe 1,000 companies that are running right now and running well and doing their best and keeping the wheels of the world turning. Corporations full of individuals, individual minds focused on successful business. Objectivists should be at the forefront of life on Earth. And I suspect most of you are. But the people that I see saying hope is woo, or the future is dark, aren't. Philosophy underlies it all. And yes, there is a philosophy war, a culture war. And there are political battles that have got to be fought. And I hope we win those battles. But way beyond, far beyond the culture war and far beyond the politics of the day, there is the challenge of living an extraordinary life, a fulfilling life, a good life, a life that is an end in itself, a life worth living. I have every hope. I have every reason to believe that I can and I will live a good life. And I hope you have the same hope for yourself, for those you love, for the people you value, for everything in the world that you value. And now, my hope is that you'll join us on Clubhouse. So real quick, to find out more about what Amy and I do, go to robertnasir.com. You'll find links to our 5 Minutes with Robert Nasir Sunday show. You'll find links back to Life on Earth with Robert and Amy Nasir. You'll find ways you can contribute to us, Patreon and PayPal links, all sorts of good information, including my Facebook page, which will give you a way to access these show notes. Click on all the links, all the stuff that is exciting and interesting and that you need to know about. If you're on YouTube, if you liked the show, give us a like. And if you're feeling really generous, you could share the show with somebody and subscribe to the channel. And Amy.
Oh, okay.
did you have anything you wanted to bring to the conversation before we wrap up here? Because I know you have lots of notes.
Well, I have a few notes.
Okay.
So I want to kind of, because Robert and I, we went out this morning. We were walking around in the rain, and it's just really a nice morning.
Doesn't that sound romantic, walking in the rain?
Except that it was cold. But, we got to talking about this. And so I kind of, ironed down some ideas, with regard to the man-made versus the metaphysical, and applying the concept of hope to your life. And so basically, hope is, as we talked about, a feeling of expectation and desire for a certain thing to happen, or to cherish a desire with anticipation, which is actually one of the definitions that I really like, because I love anticipation and I think everyone should have it. And I think that hope is definitely a part of that. Like a vacation, for instance, if you're anticipating that and you're anticipating a really great vacation, a great reward for what you do in life, that anticipation is part of the reward. and hope is that part of that reward, in my understanding here. But so basically you've got two man-made viewpoints here in terms of the man-made versus the metaphysical, because Bonnie definitely hit on the whole metaphysical idea. Hope in the universe is being auspicious to your life. You hope that you're not going to end up in a tornado somewhere, or a hurricane, or a flood, or something like that. But of course, you have the power to base your hope in your own first-handed thought and action. So you have confidence in yourself to obtain a value. You can even have like a guided, positive meditation to kind of prime your brain, prime your subconscious to get what you want in life, for instance. But that's in your own firsthand. That's in your court. So, and then you have trust in others to help you obtain a value, which is sort of like, when you're a manager or something, you're delegating some task to somebody, you have hope, actually you have confidence, and you have trust in them to actually have them actually deliver on the promise. There is the hope that's based in second-handed wishing. So, we were talking about things just falling into your lap. There's, no thought or action on your part to actually get it, if you do get it. And hope is entitlement. So that's where it gets really, really cynical. And speaking of cynicism, to wrap my notes up here, I used to be very cynical. As I mentioned on the show before, I used to be a Nietzschean existentialist punk rocker. And I loved, reading Nietzsche. I loved reading Hermann Hesse and Schopenhauer and some others. I did have some good influences in Voltaire at the time. This is pre-Ayn Rand. But I used to think that hope was an invitation to suffering. So if you have no expectations, you won't be disappointed. Therefore, you won't be hurt. And then, of course, it took me a while after I read Ayn Rand, except that you'll have no values in your life. So, I think it's important to have hope. I think it's important to have an expectation of a good life. And I think your points, Robert, especially about the stock market and what, Yaron Brook was talking about, I think that is all very, very accurate.
I think you grounded it well, the idea of cherishing a desire with anticipation. I mentioned pop music. John Henderson sings, "Without hope, you cannot start the day." Yeah, there's that idea, the Spock idea of, if I don't hold any values, I won't have any disappointments. Well, except you won't have any reason to get out of bed in the morning either.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I especially appreciate that. And I've been through some of the existentialist challenges that you have as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, and I did incidentally look up Ayn Rand's definition of hope, and there isn't one. But looking through her corpus, I did find over 150 uses of the word, and generally in a positive way.
Good.
We had talked about the use of the word wish as a
Yes.
synonym for values.
I was going to bring that up. Yep.
And we did a couple episodes on trust. And we explained that trust is a kind of knowledge. When you trust somebody, you know them well enough to know what you can expect from them. And hope is the same thing, except hope is when you know the world and your life and your values well enough to know that you have the opportunity, the chance of success. There were a couple quotes from Ayn Rand's writing and her fiction writing where she uses the word hope, and it's almost always positive. She thinks hope is an essential thing. I'll just read the longer one here, just one from Atlas Shrugged. Excuse me, Dagny Taggart's talking to Hank Reardon about Francisco d'Anconia. And she says, "I'm certain of nothing about him." This is when she can't figure out what the hell is he doing early in the story. "I'm certain of nothing about him, not even whether he's the greatest or the lowest man on earth." And Hank answers back, "I'm certain of nothing about him, except that I like him." But think about what he's done. It's not Jim or Boyle that he's hurt. It's you and me and Ken Daniger and the rest of us, because Jim's gang will merely take it out on us. And it's going to be another disaster, like the Wyatt fire. Yes, like the Wyatt fire. But, I don't think I care too much about that. What's one more disaster? Everything's going anyway. It's only a matter of a little faster or a little slower. All that's left for us ahead is to keep the ship afloat for as long as we can and then go down with it. Well, is that his excuse for himself? Is that what he's made you feel? No. Oh, no. That's the feeling I lose when I speak to him. The strange thing is what he does make me feel. What? Hope. She nodded in helpless wonder, knowing that she felt it too. And her use of the word hope in her fiction is much like that. Again, I have several different citations. Francisco saying to James Taggart, "When I die, I hope to go to heaven," whatever the hell that is, "and I want to be able to afford the price of admission." The word hope is used in the funnest ways in Ayn Rand's writing. If you have a copy of the Ayn Rand CD or some other way to search your text, search for the word hope, and you will find some of the best quotes. So I could not resist having a discussion about hope. Thank you for joining us for this. Again, we're going to go over to Clubhouse. We're going to talk some more. Let you talk back to us. We're glad you were on here. Thank you. We will be back next Thursday at 5 o'clock. We'll be on Sunday at 6 o'clock. If you go to robertnasir.com, you can find out more about that. And in the meantime, we hope that you've enjoyed the show, and we hope you have an outstanding day.